Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the UCL Matchday Prediction Series where I predict every single matchday of the UCL. This is the second episode. We've only done one matchday so far, and it didn't go great, but it went okay. I got a total of 46 points on my predictions. It could have been more. If you haven't joined the league already, make sure you do. I'll leave a link in the description below and a code on the screen right here. Now, for each matchday, you can use a ×2 booster if you're very certain about a prediction. And I forgot to use mine, so that did affect my score a bit. Also, for some reason, my prediction for Galatasaray versus Copenhagen didn't register, but I said Galatasaray will win for that. Many people did, so I'm not too bothered. In terms of actual scorelines, I only got one correct, which was Atletico Madrid against Lazio. Shout out to Ivan Provedel for getting me something right, as the goalkeeper scored the 95th minute winner. Other than that, there were many I was just a goal or two off, some a bit more. But in terms of predicting the actual result correct, win, draw, or loss, I got 11 out of 16. Should have predicted more draws. But anyway, out of over 2,000 of you, I sit at 599. Hopefully I can improve on this match day, but just a massive disclaimer before I give you all my predictions. I am recording this video before all of the matches start for each of the domestic leagues, the weekend before the Champions League fixtures begin for match day 2. Last time I recorded most of it after, so maybe some of my predictions can shift later on, but I have to get this video out a bit earlier as I'm taking a trip to Split this weekend to watch the eternal derby between Dinamo Zagreb and Hajduk Split, which I do hope to bring a video out for you guys on that match if everything goes to plan. But yeah, for this match day in particular, I just have to get something out for you earlier on. But with that being said, I'll still share with you all of my thoughts today. Make sure you drop an early like, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into it. Starting off with Salzburg versus Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad might have looked to be the favorites at the beginning before the season began, but Salzburg put off a very impressive display against Benfica. They grabbed a 2-0 win away against the club that topped their group last season. Irako Šibić had a fantastic display out there, scoring a penalty as well, and Oscar Gluck getting the 51st minute goal. Obviously, Antonio Silva's red card definitely haunted Benfica for this match. Also, shout out to Real Sociedad for holding off Inter, who looked to be the favorites in that matchup despite being the away side. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen in their match against Atletico Bilbao, but so far in La Liga, the only team they fell short to was Real Madrid, and it was a close matchup. Salzburg are known for the incredible young talent they possess, but Real Sociedad have a few of their own, such as the Japanese player Kubo, who is their top goal scorer at the moment. Taking a look at the popular predictions, I see some people are going for a draw, but other than that, many people are saying Real Sociedad are going to come out on top away. I think anything's possible here, as Salzburg will definitely build some confidence now after defeating Benfica. And they're the home side now. You know the fans are going to be gassed. I don't know, this might be one of the tougher matchups to call, but I'm going to stick with that popular draw prediction of 1-1. Now for Union Berlin versus Braga. Both these clubs just lost narrowly to the quote-unquote favorites in their group. I gotta say though, Union Berlin had a fantastic defensive display against Real Madrid. They were off to a solid start this season, grabbing some very solid wins, scoring 4 goals in many fixtures. However, before the fixture against Heidenheim, I don't know what's going to happen there. They have lost their last 4 matches. To be fair, they were against some difficult opponents, but Braga is not going to be easy either. Despite losing to Napoli recently, they have improved their form. Again, I'm torn about this one. We're starting off with some very difficult fixtures. I'm going to go for yet another draw though, 1-1. I didn't go for many draws in the last video. This time I may go for a few more, but it might end up hurting me at the end, who knows. Now for Inter Milan versus Benfica. These sides already have a history against each other in the Champions League as they faced each other in the quarterfinals. Inter Milan were able to get the best of them after Benfica were looking in fantastic form throughout the entire season. They just seemed to slip a bit as they lost to Porto and then Inter Milan straight after, at their own home ground as well, all in 1 week. This fixture will be played in the San Siro, and after Inter Milan's fantastic result against their rivals, they have been slipping a bit. As I already mentioned, they drew to Real Sociedad, barely beat Empoli, who are in relegation zone at the moment, and then lost narrowly to Sassuolo. Benfica, as I already mentioned, got that very disappointing result against Salzburg, and they will now be missing Antonio Silva for this fixture. But history can repeat itself. As you recall, the week I just mentioned, where they had to face Porto and then Inter Milan in the Champions League quarterfinals, they're facing Porto this weekend, and then they have to face Inter Milan once again. I have no idea what's going to happen in the Porto match, but I'm going to say, in terms of the Champions League, history repeats itself. With them not having one of the most quality center backs for this fixture, I do think Inter can narrowly get the best of them. I'm going for a 2-1 victory for Inter Milan. Now for Napoli versus Real Madrid. Napoli are in a very interesting situation right now. I'm sure you've already been hearing the stories, But there's a lot of drama going on between Victor Osimhen and the club after the admin of the TikTok club decided to mock him by posting a video of him missing his penalty. He was furious about that and deleted all of his posts of him wearing a Napoli shirt on Instagram. But the day after all that drama broke out, they had to play Udinese in the Serie A, and he scored, along with Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, who scored his first goal in the Serie A since March. They beat them 4-1 as well, a pretty heavy scoreline. But even before the TikTok stuff, the club was going through a lot of drama, as Rudy Garcia seemed to lose the dressing room. They didn't win any of their last 3 Serie A matches before playing Udinese. The biggest news about Real Madrid having any potential downfall is losing to one of their rivals, Atletico Madrid, 3-1. They picked themselves back up though against Palmas, but they'll have a very tough task as they'll have to face a very informed Girona this weekend. It's going to be annoying that I can't cover these matches, but it is what it is. And obviously, they'll be facing Napoli right after. Now, Real Madrid are finding the goals here and there, but they do not look to be the most decisive in front of the net compared to last season at least. So these are definitely the 2 favorites to get either first or second in the group, and I think Real Madrid are just going to edge Napoli away. Despite them massively beating Udinese, I still think the club might struggle against the side that has by far the most legacy in this competition. Now for PSV versus Sevilla. Now PSV had to face the favorites of this group, Arsenal, and they got absolutely battered. Arsenal were the favorites to win that match, sure. It was at the Emirates, but I was not expecting 4-0. I thought PSV would put off a very solid fight. Since then, they bounced back in the Eredivisie, though, getting clean sheets and scoring loads of goals in each of their matches. And now they'll be facing a Sevilla who, despite scoring 5 goals recently against Almeria, they were looking to be in very poor form prior to that. They failed to beat Lens at home, who were also looking in very poor form. And at the time of this recording, they only grabbed 2 wins in La Liga so far. These sides had to face each other in the Europa League playoffs last season, and it was a very close affair where PSV got the best of Sevilla in the first match, but then Sevilla obliterated them in the second when they were the home side. Honestly, many of these fixtures so far are giving me a headache, but since PSV are the home side, I'm going to say they're able to bounce back after getting obliterated by Arsenal. I will say that they defeat Sevilla once again, just like in the Europa League at home. They beat them 2-0. Now for Lens versus Arsenal. Lens at the time of this recording only got 1 win in Ligue 1. Meanwhile, Arsenal haven't lost yet in the Premier League. Upsets are possible, of course. It's football, but I think it's safe to say Arsenal got this one in the bag. I'm going for 3-0. Now for Copenhagen versus Bayern Munich. Now, many people are sleeping on Copenhagen, but to be honest, they impressed me against Galatasaray. They looked to have the match on lockdown, and Galatasaray made a very late comeback. They did this all while playing away as well, and we all know Galatasaray have a very hostile home atmosphere. Let's not count them out completely, but now they are facing one of the best teams in the Champions League, Bayern Munich. I'm surprised they ended up conceding 3 to Manchester United on the first match day. I thought they would get a clean sheet against them. But overall this season, apart from the Super Cup against RB Leipzig, they've been getting the job done. They have to come up against Leipzig once again before this fixture. I don't know what's going to happen there, but regardless of what happens, I'm saying Bayern win this one. I think they can get a solid 4-0 victory. I predicted that against Manchester United, and I was wrong, so we'll see. Maybe Copenhagen can score a few goals, but I'm saying it finishes 4-0. But now moving on to the other matchup in this group, Manchester United versus Galatasaray. Galatasaray fought till the end against Copenhagen. Respect to them for that, but they kind of just show that they are prone to randomly slipping. Manchester United obviously are guilty of this as well. They have not had the most convincing start to this season, despite still getting some results going their way. They barely beat some clubs they should be destroying. Burnley, Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton, and all the other matches in the Premier League they faced, they had heavy losses. I think it's going to be another narrow victory for Manchester United. I am going for 1-0. Now for Antwerp versus Shaktar. At the time of this recording, Antwerp haven't scored a goal since September 15. And Shaktar, despite them losing to Porto, they're still able to grab some goals here and there. Hard to judge both of these clubs' form in the Champions League as they did come up against the stronger teams in this group. But I think Shaktar have what it takes to just edge Antwerp. You know what? I'll say they scored 2 against them. 2-0. Now for Atletico Madrid versus Feyenoord. This is going to be one hell of a match. Atletico Madrid, based on last season, are very unpredictable in the Champions League. They already bottled a massive opportunity for them to secure 3 points against Lazio. As I've already mentioned, Lazio's keeper scored in the 95th minute. But then after that, they responded beautifully in La Liga, defeating Los Blancos. Feyenoord, on the other hand, have a story of their own in the Eredivisie. After defeating Celtic 2-0, they had to come up against their rivals Ajax and obliterated them. Santiago Jimenez scoring a hat-trick. That is a massive statement from the club. And I went bold in my Champions League predictions, saying that they would top this difficult group. Both these teams will be going into this match with confidence though, as they both just defeated their own rivals. Respect, anything's possible here. Although I went for Feyenoord to top the group, I think Atletico Madrid can come back since they are the home side. Anything's possible. Best of luck to Feyenoord. But I'm going for Atletico Madrid, winning this fixture in particular, 2-1. Went for a lot of 2-1s here. Now for Porto versus Barcelona. Besides the match against Shaktar, Porto are barely squeezing through many of their matches. They are definitely not looking the best they can be, either drawing or winning many matches by 1. Meanwhile, Barcelona recently have been going down in a few La Liga fixtures, but then picked themselves back up. They were 2-0 down against Celta Vigo and then made a massive comeback, scoring all their goals around the 80th minute. Then they were 2-1 down against Mallorca, were able to secure a point, but that's it. But before all that, they got 2 5-0 victories. Based on the overall form and Barcelona's incredible squad, I think they have what it takes to beat Porto even away. I'm going to go for that popular prediction of 3-1. Now for Crvena Zvezda versus Young Boys. Crvena Zvezda at halftime were beating Manchester City 1-0, but then Manchester City obviously came back. And Young Boys were also somewhat able to hold off Leipzig until halftime. This one's definitely a toss-up as both these sides in their domestic leagues actually share quite a similar record at the moment. But from what I've seen, that Crvena Zvezda atmosphere is next level. So since they're the home side, I think this is the perfect opportunity to show them some hope and love. I will go for a 1-0 victory for the Serbian club. Now for Leipzig versus Manchester City. Manchester City, the clear favorites. We've already seen this side last season demolish this team in the second leg of the round of 16. And despite Leipzig getting rid of a lot of key players, City should definitely not take this match lightly, as the new signings such as Xavi Simons, Benjamin Šeško have all been coming up clutch. We've already seen them defeat Bayern Munich at the beginning of the season in the cup final, and their only loss in the Bundesliga so far this season was against Bayer Leverkusen. City are also definitely prone to slipping, as they just lost to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup, getting knocked out of the competition this early in the first time of their history. Well, since Pep Guardiola took charge, sorry. Without a doubt, they're still the favorites on paper, and they have a flawless start to the Premier League at the time of this recording. I see City just narrowly edging Leipzig away this time around. I'm going to say there's loads of goals in this, and it finishes 2-3. Now for Newcastle versus PSG, like I already mentioned, Newcastle just defeated Manchester City. People were questioning their form at first at the beginning of the season, but they had a tough schedule. They drew their first Champions League match in some time against AC Milan away. Right after that, they destroyed Sheffield United 8-0 away. But that being said, PSG destroyed their rivals Marseille recently 4-0. It's a flip of a coin between the Saudi and Qatar owners. I truly don't know. PSG totally revamped their squad. Newcastle look to regain their confidence. I don't know. Look, even the predictions are all over the place on this one for the popular picks. I think I'm going to have to go for that first one of 2-1. I know I said 2-1 a lot in this video. I think this might be my least confident prediction video in a while. These fixtures are tough. Now for Dortmund versus AC Milan. Obviously another toss-up. We know this group is very, very tough to predict. After AC Milan failed to score against Newcastle, though, they have been finding the back of the net. Dortmund took that loss to PSG, and they haven't been looking too convincing otherwise, but we all know they are definitely capable of a surprise. Their biggest win so far in the Bundesliga was against Freiburg, where they beat them 2-4. Other than that, it's been narrow or draws. I see this one being a draw or an AC Milan win. I'm going for that draw, though. I'll go for 2-2. Now for Celtic versus Lazio. Lazio have not had the best start to the season, but they have had a few decisive moments here and there, including drawing to Atletico Madrid, which I already mentioned a bunch. They currently sit in 11th place in the Serie A, but I'm sorry to Celtic, despite them being the home side, I think Lazio can definitely get a win here. I'm going for 2-0. They've had an incredible start to the Scottish Premiership, don't get me wrong, but I just think this group is too difficult for them. All these teams have so much quality. Well, there you have it, guys. These are my match day 2 predictions. Many of these fixtures are tough to call. Really won't be surprised if I'm wrong on most of these, honestly. I really only feel confident about a few, so if I underestimated your club, truly, best of luck to them. Wish I could get more data. Hopefully, my schedule is freed up next time for the 3rd match day, so I can actually record and edit this right before match day 3 begins, instead of doing this a bit early. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Let me know your predictions as always in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. La con noite.